Welcome to 5 News Australia. This is Sofiána here, and today we do have someone from the Labor Party, thankfully, JIHAD DIB, who will be speaking to us today about community issues that's been raised. So, JIHAD, before we go into what's been like the people in the community, what they've been complaining about, and also the positive side as well.
There's got to be a positive too.
Not only the negative. So we want to speak about your previous experience before stepping into the parliament, how you were before a principal for Punchbowl Boys High School. So how did that come about?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Sofiána. It's lovely to see you. And hello to everybody too who's tuning in. It's fantastic, and hoping you're having a terrific year as well. So my parents, I suppose, always wanted me to be a lawyer or a doctor. And I'm sure everybody who's watching would completely understand that. Yeah. That's what they want. But for me, teaching was the thing. I just love that idea of helping people. Yeah. And I thought teaching could do it. I got really passionate. In 2006, I was, alhamdulillah, like I became the youngest principal, or one of the youngest principals at Punchbowl Boys High School. And it was a challenge because Punchbowl Boys High School was a place that was on the verge of closure. Yeah. But it was really important that we have a go at trying to save this school. And for me as well, I was really motivated to do it because there's a lot of people from a multicultural community, Arabic community, Muslim kids that I knew just needed probably a little bit of guidance on the right direction, and things would change. And as it turned out, alhamdulillah, like things just went so well. And it just completely turned it around where kids didn't believe in themselves. All of a sudden, they started to go to university, they started to believe in themselves. They saw the value of community connection. We got them involved in community work. So that's how it happened. I never actually thought I'd become a principal.
So after 7 years being a school principal there, then you moved on into, correct me if I'm wrong, you moved on into the Liberal Party before the Labor?
No.
Because there was a whole conversation, like apparently Scott Morrison, when he welcomed you into the parliament, he's like, oh, welcome back into the House.
Yeah, I think it was very, very nice of Scott. Look, I know Scott Morrison being a bit cheeky, and somebody said, oh, mate, you're a Liberal Party. I go, no, I wasn't. What happened? And you know what? It's a real blessing. Yeah. That I had both parties approach me. And both parties thought, that maybe I could bring something to the parliament.
Definitely.
And Scott Morrison I knew because he and Jason Clare and I had done these treks where we took kids to Kokoda and Sandakan. Yeah. And to his credit, he'd always said, the Liberal Party would be great for you. And, and then of course, at the time there was the Premier and some of the ministers as well. Remember, it was a Liberal government. But I made it pretty clear that I was a Labor person, and I was very flattered, and I was actually really flattered that I would be asked by both parties. But, from the moment we arrived here, we've been voting Labor. Yeah. And I'm going to be a Labor. I believe in the values of Labor. That's not to say that, what a great system we have where we've got so many different political parties. Yeah. And you can make the choice. And of course, the parties change over time. The Labor of when my parents came in the early mid-70s is different to the Labor now, and the Liberal is different. I mean, I see a bit of diversity creeping in both ways as well. So, but that's what it was. But no, I'd never been a part of the Liberal Party.
Okay, that's been cleared up.
And what was lovely, it was actually, I remember the day of the election, Scott Morrison was doing a thing on the TV. Yeah. And, they go through all the, and he actually was giving me a compliment. And he just said, it's so good to have this person in the parliament. He could have been one of us. So he actually did it in a real complimentary way. But of course, some people understood that as me. It was never going to be, for me, it was always pretty clear, Labor.
So do you think that now...
And I think my dad still would have talked to me if I went the other way.
Well, do you feel that there's some sort of conflict now since you've chosen the Labor Party?
No, because it wasn't like a really big choice, it wasn't easy. There was no choice. Okay. It was just that somebody said, hey, would you think about these guys? I go, no, I'm a Labor person. So that's, there was never a conflict between, do I go these guys or these guys? That was never, so it was never for me a difficult decision at all. It was always going to be, this is who I'll join. I said, from the moment we arrived in Australia and we could vote, that's been the one for us. And obviously, the values for me, the Labor values, that was really important for me. And that's why, said it's always been Labor. So it's been a funny one, mate.
Well, but Lakemba has definitely evolved
Yeah.
from, from like 10 years ago till now. Before, it was never this crowded and never so busy on the streets. What's your plan from Lakemba all the way here to Punchbowl, the roads of widening? Are you planning to widen the roads? Because there's so much traffic, especially like when it's a school time, or work times. It gets too crazy.
Well, Sofiána, I think they're really good questions because, but it's also changed. Like Lakemba and Punchbowl and Greenacre have all changed. Now you think about the last 10 years, almost every house in Greenacre has got a granny flat now.
Yeah.
So that automatically doubles the traffic. You've got many more units that have come up, which will increase the traffic flow.
Yeah.
I've been on the record many a time as saying I don't oppose development, but I don't want to see development that doesn't have the social infrastructure. And what I mean by the social infrastructure is, where is the widening of the road?
Yeah.
Where is the school? Where is the upgrade to the hospital? You can't just keep putting more and more people into a place and say, that's it, you're still going to deal with the same.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's a real problem at the moment, and it's making roads busier, is the tolls.
Exactly.
So the M5, people in our community use the M5 a lot. And if I was to get on the M5 here at Riverwood, just near my office, I'm at Punchbowl and Riverwood is the closest M5, I've got to pay a toll to get onto it.
Yeah.
Then I pay another toll to travel the road that I used to always travel, and it's $6.95. Like, that's the M5 to take me where it used to take me. So of course that tolls both ways. So it becomes like, say, $14 a day.
Yeah.
People will go, well, hang on a second, I can't afford to pay that toll. It might not seem like much, but when you're in a community that maybe, money is pretty hard to come by, that makes a difference, because $14 a day becomes $3,000 a year. Now that $3,000 a year is money that you could pay for your kids' clothes. You could start taking them to things like the movies. You can have picnic, all those things that you could do. When you think about it, it's $3,000. So that's increased traffic congestion, because what that means is that people now are avoiding the M5, using King George's Road more, using Punchbowl Road more, using Canterbury Road more. So that's me being on the record as having said that a lot of time in the Parliament. She said, you can't just keep adding people and not have the roads. Canterbury Road is a disaster. Canterbury and King George's Road, the intersection there is a really bad intersection. And now we've seen that, there's been an agreement. It's taken a few years, but to actually change the turning lanes a little bit, which might make a difference. King George's Road at near Beverly Hills, making the turning lane a lot longer so that you can keep the traffic flowing.
What about
Stacey
here
Street.
at the Punchbowl station? Because it's
terrible.
really bad. Like over here, there's a whole parking lot, and then there's the Punchbowl station. And there's like all these shops. Again, what do you have to say about that?
So this is where I think the government's really wasted an opportunity here.
Yeah.
Because they're talking about the metro. Now, I was certainly not for the metro, because I think the metro is about development, not like, we've got a good train line.
Yeah.
And if you're going to build a metro and you want to put units, well, where's, again, my school and all that sort of stuff? We haven't got any of that. But the opportunity to do the metro, now the government's decided to do it, was to go underground at Punchbowl. Because the biggest problem you've got at Punchbowl, you've got Punchbowl Road, so people want to go over the bridge. You've got people who are coming in from the boulevard and they want to go to the end, then they want to go left, then they want to go right towards Bankstown. That bottleneck there causes huge, huge problems. So the only thing that you can do is you can either try and change it so like the traffic kind of moves in a different way. Like, this is where the experts have got to come in. You could build a flyover, but I can't see them doing that because it's just so expensive. But what I'm saying is that there's an opportunity here while the metro's happening to go underground, which meant that you can actually just have the roads flowing much, because then you can make a road that cuts straight into the boulevard. It makes it easier. But it was never considered. So it's, for me, I spoke to the council recently about what I think could get traffic moving a bit further, which is about making car parks so that people can actually get off that street and try and keep clearing the road. Like, you've just got to keep it clearing without affecting the businesses. Because you don't want to say people can't park if businesses then are going to lose customers.
But there's been many years that people have been complaining because they're like, where is my tax going? We can't see it on the roads. We can't see it in the schools. We see our tax going towards, like, the high-end communities and towards private schools, but not towards government schooling, unfortunately.
Well, and this is to be a bit political now.
Yeah.
I mean, we had the Premier not long ago just say, yep, what's wrong with giving money to your electorates? They call it pork barreling is the phrase. And pork barreling is the phrase we use basically say, you are giving something specifically for a benefit.
Yeah.
And we saw that with the councils that were given, I think 95% of the $200 odd million went to Liberal and national councils.
Yeah.
Canterbury Bankstown Council, the biggest council, didn't get $1. Didn't even get told that this funding was available. So when it was raised, the Premier's response was, well, there's nothing wrong with that. Like there's a real arrogance because the Premier has to be the Premier for all of New South Wales, not just for particular areas.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we've lost, and I really hope politics doesn't become like this. And I'm sure that, you know, when we get into government again, we can't do this.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really wrong. I think it's unfair. Where there's a need, there's got to be given the need. So we've got areas that we've been crying out. Haldon Street needs a resurface. Canterbury Road needs some work. King George's Road needs some work. I've been pleading for a lift at Punchbowl Station since I've been in Parliament. My predecessor did the same. Then we're told you're going to get it done with the Metro. So we get that. We see then, you know, we couldn't get money. We couldn't get money just to make the area nicer. And this is what I think, this is what then really upsets me. Yeah. For all of the things that maybe the government will say about were for everyone, well, that's not true. Because if they're for everyone, why aren't we receiving any genuine funding? Canterbury Hospital, Sophie Kotsis and myself said, can we get some money for Canterbury Hospital? It desperately needs an upgrade.
But like, you know, there's, speaking to a lot of health practitioners from Bankstown and Canterbury Hospital, sorry, they say that it was before a beautiful place till the wider community came in, because they're being mistreated by members of the community, which is why they feel that there's not much development in those hospitals due to the community's response. How do you say about that?
No, I don't agree with that.
You don't agree?
No, I think if there's an issue with people being mistreated by members of the community, and this happens across a lot of areas, mind you, a lot of hospitals now are complaining that people are coming in, and you go in hospitals now, you see signs, do not abuse staff. Yeah. Because people get quite abusive. Yeah. But that's not, I mean, that's also a reason, part of the reason people get abusive is because they're waiting for 6 to 8 hours to be able to be treated. Yeah. Because they're waiting to be seen by somebody, because they've waited 2-3 months to have an operation that the government calls it elective. It's not elective. You don't elect to have an operation. It just means that you have to have that operation. But if you've got to wait 2 to 3 to 4 months a year to be able to have an operation, then I think that's wrong. Yeah. So of course people are going to be, and I do not in any way condone that. I think it's terrible. Disrespect is the worst thing you can do. Yeah. But if you're having to wait and wait and wait and wait, then you do that. I also think the facilities are not right. I mean, we went to visited one of the rooms. I think it was like around the Labor ward, and Labor is in birth, not Labor is in the Labor Party. But and it was just. It just wasn't modern. It was just like really cramped, and I thought to myself, this is not fair to our community that we're getting this. Yeah. And we need to upgrade it. But what happens is the government's mentality, they say, well, we can pork barrel, then we can pork barrel. Yeah. And we can do what it is that we want to do. And they did. We got nothing. Like I even said to the Treasurer, I said, just give us some money to be able to make a start. A little bit.
But like the Bankstown Canterbury Council approved for high-rise buildings and apartments. Don't you feel there's a bit too much congestion in those areas already?
Yeah. And there's going to be, obviously there's a new plan as well that takes in the Metro, because there's the university coming in. Yeah. There's a new hospital slated for Bankstown, but we don't know where it is yet. Yeah. So the current Bankstown hospital is going to be replaced by another hospital, but we don't know where. Yeah. There is a lot of congestion. I think there's also the expectation that there's going to be about 1 million extra people in Sydney in the next 30 years. So Sydney's going to get even busier. Yeah. And the only way to really do it is by having some apartments. But I'd like to see more apartments in other areas as well. I don't think we should be bearing the load. You know, why don't we have these same sort of expectations then for other communities? Saying, okay, I'll accept. I don't like anything that's more than about, 6, 7, 8 stories. We're going to start seeing 20-story units, as people's homes and things. Oh, I don't. To me, that's too much. It's too dense. I'd like 6, 7 as a maximum with the shops underneath. Okay, I kind of get it. But I think, you know, there's also a responsibility. The council was also told you have to make 50,000 new dwellings. And that's why I said, to me, in my opinion, it's all about the metro. The metro was only done so that then they could do more development, which, you know, you go, okay, where's my new parks? Where if you've got people living, there's 500 units in a building, which park do those families go to?
Yeah.
Which school do they go to? Which hospital do they go to? Which daycare centre do they go to? Which community centre do they go to? Like, where do they go? Where do they park? And that's where I think we've really failed in our thinking.
Definitely. I agree.
Mm.
Yes.
So I'm a real strategic thinker. I go, give me whatever you want, but make it happen. Because there's this belief that people don't, you know, like they won't drive because the metro.
Yeah.
Rubbish. You know, people are still going to have a car, because if I wanted to get from here to, say, I don't know, Rockdale, for example.
Yeah.
To catch a train, I'm going to have to catch a train, get somewhere, change trains, go somewhere else, and then walk.
Yeah.
Or I can get in my car and just drive 15 minutes. Until our public transport system works really, really well, people won't be using it the way they think that. If your kids are playing soccer on a weekend, how many soccer parks are next to a train station? You're not going to walk with your kids in the bag and all that sort of stuff to the soccer field. So it's not practical. So you're going to build the units. Where's the parking for the cars?
I do think, because especially, you know, your the community we're in now, it's all family orientated.
Yeah.
So how is a high-rise buildings and those apartments beneficial to those families when there's kids that are, you know, craving for a backyard?
Yeah. I don't think they are.
Yeah.
I don't think they are. And we saw during COVID, I was really worried about families. Imagine for the families like who are living in, say, Lakemba, in those little old units that are 2-bedroom, that are tiny, and they've got 2 kids, they can't go anywhere, there's not good ventilation.
Yeah.
Imagine what life would have been like. And you already got the fear of COVID.
Yeah.
And then you're basically like, you close the door and that's it. I hope I never have to, like, I live in a house, I hope I never have to live in an apartment.
God bless, yeah.
And I certainly wouldn't, I don't think it's the right place for kids. Kids need to be able to run around, to be able to make noise. The problem that we have, though, is everybody wants to live here, you just can't keep getting houses here.
Yeah.
So we have to keep moving further out. But having said that, we also don't need the big houses that we have.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't think a unit, once you close the door to the unit, it's kind of like you're living in a box.
Yeah.
You know, and I think you'd be feeling bad if your family makes a lot of noise. It's not your fault if kids want to make noise, kids want to run around. That's what kids do.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm not one for, I can get it. I get it. Maybe if you didn't have kids or you didn't have family or it works for your lifestyle, yes. But having a backyard, even if it's not a big backyard to run around in, it's just nice to be able to open up the door and just step outside and see something that's green, see a plant. That's really nice.
So, not last year, but the year before, Pauline Hanson did an act in the Parliament House where she was wearing a burqa and she ripped it off. What do you have to say about that?
Look, it's a stunt. And it's what Pauline Hanson's known for.
Yeah.
If Pauline Hanson actually took the time to get to know people, instead of trying to do these little stunts, maybe she might learn something. I was aboard. I was just aboard by this sort of action, and I spoke about it. Don't forget, around that time, we also had another senator talk about effectively say it was a disease.
Yeah.
She'd been making some comments. We had this really strong anti-Muslim sentiment.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, as one of the times when I thought, you know what, it's good to be in Parliament because I have now got a platform to be able to express these opinions that everybody's been feeling. Because I can get angry on Facebook and I can get angry on Twitter. But you know what, saying it in the Parliament in Australia is really important. I thought it was a disgusting thing to do. And I thought it was so disrespectful. And funnily enough, the whole House, like everybody, including at the time George Brandis, who is a Liberal minister who I didn't expect it from him. But he got up and he was really upset. And it gave me a whole newfound respect for him. Obviously, there was a motion against it, but it was like it's okay to be white kind of thing. It's like, come on, Pauline. You have got, you've got a head start on some other people. Granted, you might have had a tough life, but so have other people. Don't go to the lowest base denominator.
Yeah.
If somebody is willing to move their entire family to a new country, to start a new life with nothing, well then doesn't that tell you that these are good people? And funnily enough, it was a woman who attacked another woman. And the inference was that these Muslim women were forced to wear a burqa.
No.
Well, no one's forced to wear a burqa.
Yeah.
And it's just her ignorance. And she's actually never, in my opinion, reached out to the Muslim community and actually said, I want to get to know these people. A long, long time ago, I remember putting something out there saying, when she had to go with the Muslim community, I said, if you ever want to have a catch up and a cup of coffee, I'm more than happy to.
Yeah.
Of course, I never heard back. Because for her, it's about playing to a very small base of people who are ignorant, who verge on racist,
Yeah.
and who actually don't want to get to know other people. They're just angry people. And that's how she gets in, with her 5% here, 3% here. But I tell you what, we saw recently the Queensland election. Even in Queensland, where she thought she had plenty of support, they turfed her out. People are over that divisive stuff because they actually saw the Muslim community during the bushfires, during COVID, during the floods. The Muslim community showed more than many other communities their willingness to donate food, to go and take food, to cook, to give donations. We were at the forefront. And what was Pauline Hanson doing? I didn't hear one word from her at that time.
Yeah.
So do I have any respect for her? I've got absolutely no respect for her, in the same way that I have no respect for anybody who seeks to divide people.
So you say that she is a racist woman.
Well, and this is now she's done some things that are very much race baiting. So if that's what
Yeah.
you call racism, then yeah. I want to say, what has she done positive? What has she said positively about the Muslim community or the Arabic community or the multicultural community in that way? So that, in that sense, yeah, that is a racist attitude.
Because she did also she was having an interview with Sunrise as well at that time, where she was talking to some ladies from Dubai, saying, agreeing with what she was saying, that their husbands force their wives to wear the burqa.
And you know what's really interesting?
Yeah.
You can find anybody for anything.
Yeah.
In the same way that if I was to say there's an issue with somebody who does Centrelink fraud and they happen to be of an Anglo background,
Yeah.
does that mean all Anglos do it?
No.
Or just going to find the one person? You will find one person in every single culture who fits the thing that you want to tell them.
Yeah.
But that inference that they were forced to do. If that's happening in Dubai, we're here in Australia.
Yeah.
We're here in Australia. But this whole thing, she's been going on about the halal stuff, not actually understanding what halal means. And literally implying that halal goes into funding terrorism.
No.
And how can you say that? So it's, as I said, it's all designed. I don't know whether she's racist, smart, or just has no common sense. But she seems to know the exact thing to say that's going to get her a percentage. So I actually think she's quite shrewd in what she does. But what she's really doing is she's dividing our country in a way that's unacceptable. And we've seen it with the increase now in the far right extremism. We've actually seen the increase in the far right extremism, the white supremacy. They're emboldened by this sort of language of hers. So I don't care if it was against the Muslim community, against the Sikh, against any community. This is not on. We live in a multicultural society. And I tell you what, and you see I'm getting passionate about it.
Yeah.
It's the one thing I thought, this is why I'm in the parliament. Because I can get up here and I can say whatever I want to say. And I can really call this stuff out. And I call it out. I make a point of calling it out every single time. Because if I didn't do that, then I'm a sellout.
So, because also here in the community as well, we had the Premier, the current Premier Gladys came to, open up the new Service New South Wales. So before we get into the whole story or what happened there, do you feel that she also shows some traits of racism as well?
No, I don't think that was racism. No,
Okay.
no. But I think what it was certainly, it was political.
Yeah.
Now, I've got a reputation, and people ask about working collaboratively with people. I'm happy to work with everybody who wants to achieve a positive outcome.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's the government, there's the opposition. But it doesn't mean that because someone's in a liberal, then I hate them or I'm not going to talk to them. No, if they can help and if I can help them, then we do it. Because who wins in the end? Society wins. And that's what we're actually all there for in the end. So, during COVID, I remember getting in contact with the ministers and saying we need stuff in languages other than English. I remember when we had the breakout in Lakemba, I went down there and did a video and, said, can we share this out, please, for people to come in and do it in different languages. Tony Burke also did the same, which was terrific. Because the COVID or the bushfire or anything, it's not going to discriminate between Labor and Liberal. It's just going to get everyone in their way. So I'm very bipartisan. Service New South Wales, I was really upset with the Premier, and I was really upset at the way that they did things because I don't operate like that.
Yeah.
So there's a Service New South Wales opening in my electorate, so in the heart of my electorate, and then I wasn't invited to the opening, which I kind of get it, but a Liberal person from a different seat was invited, and that's when I got really upset because Service New South Wales is not a Liberal thing. Service New South Wales is a New South Wales government thing, and the government changes at different times. So I was really upset, and I put it out there and just said, you know what, this is arrogance, and this is the sort of thing that I expect better from somebody like her. I actually expect better from Gladys Berejiklian because there's been occasions where I've stood up, and I remember we were at a school once, and it was when she first became Premier, and I told the kids, I go, this is Gladys Berejiklian, this is her story, this is a great story, we don't see each other politically very different, but there's a good story about a person who couldn't speak English. Look at it, become the Premier. You can become anything you want. Like, I will be that. I'll be that fair. And I just thought that what they did was really unfair, really unprofessional. But again, like we did with the pork barrelling, they just go, yep, it's politics. It's not politics.
Yeah.
The local member should be at that thing. And I think had it just been Gladys Berejiklian and the minister, I kind of would have been okay with it. But the fact that then you had another Liberal MP, not even from the area, just coming along for the photos, that to me was really, really bad. And the community was so supportive of me because they know the truth. They know that I'm out there. They know that I'm out there supporting everybody, that I work with everybody. So that was really lovely too, the support that I got from within the community about that. So, but look, not racist, but really, really politically motivated in a way that I hadn't seen before. And it really was very, very disappointing. Again, I called it out.
So, moving on to the positive side of things.
yeah, I sound like an angry man. Maybe.
No. Look, when it comes to politics, there's always a good and bad.
You got to be passionate. You got to be passionate, and people go into politics to make a difference. Everybody does, whether you sit Labor, Liberal, Green, Independent, whatever. You're actually there for the same reason to begin with.
Yeah.
Because you want to make things better. It's just that you think your way is making it better than somebody else's way.
Yes, I know. So, we have a loving community here who absolutely adore you.
Thank you.
So, well...
It was so touching and beautiful.
A little bit of blush. So, you show a lot of support not only towards the community but for the youngsters. Yeah. So, what do you do for the youngsters?
Everything. Everything that I can do. And it's so... I'm so lucky because I do feel like I'm loved in the community. And I actually don't feel like people see me as their MP.
Yeah.
They see me not as an MP who's not approachable. They see me as their voice, their person. Like when I walk in the shops, they're shocked. Like, they were at the start. But I'll just go down. I'll go through like the specials, like everybody else, and and I just buy my meat down here and my stuff here, and so you feel they go, okay, this guy is one of us. This guy is one of us. He's there. He turns up to all the events. I'm always late to events because I go to so many events. I'm always late. Abbas Rana from the Pakistan Association will say I'm always late. I don't think I've ever been on time for any of his events, as would anybody else.
Yeah.
But I make the point of going.
Yeah.
And my thing is, I just want to look. For me, one day I won't be in Parliament.
Yeah.
But I want to know that while I was in there, I did the very, very best that I could. But maybe also that I was able to motivate somebody else to start thinking outside that. And we used to have. No one used to think this was achievable.
Yeah.
And it's achievable now. And so my goal is to help other, particularly young people, help them navigate the things that I didn't know. I didn't know much about politics before I went in. I didn't know about the setup of, the different factions within parties. I didn't know about the rules of the parliament. I've had to learn all of that. But I'd love to, then I mentor kids in whatever way I can. Not only with politics, but with anything. Like we take lots of kids for work experience. I'm always available to talk to kids. I've got a special soft spot for kids, always. And I always think about this. Somebody gave me a hand, and it's my obligation to give somebody else a hand. But for too long, kids in our community were told you were bad, you're never going to achieve anything, you're a waste of time, you're not Australian. Well, I'm telling them you're good, you're loved, you're just as Australian as anybody else, and you can do anything that you want to do. So I'm just changing that narrative.
Well, thank you so much, Jihad. It was lovely talking
my
to you.
pleasure.
So before we conclude this, do you have a message to, to say for the community? Or
Yeah, for sure. Look, and I look straight at the camera here. I think many years ago, I never would have thought that I'd become a member of parliament. The name like Jihad, it made it even more tricky. But I didn't actually change my name, and I remembered who I was, and I remember why my family came here to give me a better life. You have got a better life. You can create a better life. It's a great honour for me to be in the parliament, as a Muslim MP, as the first Muslim MP elected in the lower house. That's a really important thing.
Yeah.
And it means a lot. But more significantly, it's what I do with that. And that's why I want to ask you, what do you do with the success that you have? Are you giving somebody a chance? Are you giving somebody an opportunity? Are you giving them a bit of a hand up? Because if somebody didn't give me a hand up, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I need to make sure that I give it to somebody else. So if you own a business, give someone a chance. If you have a company of some sort, give someone a chance. If you're a professional or somebody wants some work experience, give them a chance. Also, remember who you are. Don't have to change for what people want you to be. Be proud of who you are. Be proud of everything that you believe in. Keep practicing the things that are important to you culturally and religiously. And remember that this is the country that makes a space for every single person. So I'm really honoured to be not only a member of parliament, but a member of parliament that represents such a culturally diverse area. And, thanks to God, I get to represent the views of people who for a long time were not heard. So I really do appreciate it. And thanks everyone who often comes up and says hello. It really means a lot when people come up and say hello. Assalamu alaikum.